Hi everyone, welcome to the Digital Supply Chain Podcast. My name is Tom Raftery, and with me on the show today I have my special guest Miquel. Miquel, welcome to the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Tom. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Miquel Serracanta. I'm based in Barcelona. I am part of CSCMP Board of Directors as International Chair. I've been volunteering the organization for 12 years. And apart from that, I have my own company, Solutions Editions. We do some consulting and also recruiting for supply chain professionals. I'm also a director of the Masters at EAE Business School in Barcelona. Me.
Fantastic, Miquel. And we should say at the outset that one of the reasons we're having this conversation is that the CSCMP Europe conference is on in Barcelona next month, and you've invited me to come and speak at the event. And do you want to speak to the audience and the listeners about that conference and reasons why they might want to attend, apart from wanting to come and see me, which I'm hardly the big draw, but there's lots of things happening at that event. It looks, from the event page, it looks like a fascinating event, and I'll put a link in the notes to the event page, so if people want to check it out, but from your own words, tell me a little bit about the event.
Yeah, so first of all, before I start talking about the conference, Tom, let me introduce CSCMP, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. It's a global organization. It's a non-profit organization based in Chicago, the US, and it started 60 years ago in 63, and it was based in logistics. Then it transformed the organization to supply chain professionals, and it's based on connecting, developing, and educating supply chain professionals all over the globe. We are in 70 countries, plus than 70 countries, around 10,000 members, both corporate members and individual members, with the idea of networking between the members and making sure that you are up to date in terms of best practices and benchmark to other professionals. That's the idea of the council itself. And what we are doing in the European conference is we are bringing people to Barcelona this week, a special week in Barcelona also, because there is the International SLI exhibition. And the same exhibition, we are doing the European conference, co-organized with our 9 roundtables, which are the chapters that we have in Europe. And the idea is to bring academics and professionals here all together to start and educating and developing and networking ourselves by listening to potential speakers like you and like other companies like Coca-Cola, Danone, and other companies that will be sharing their insights to the professionals who can learn from the professionals on the stage. That's the idea, Tom.
Okay, and when is it happening?
Yeah, okay. That will be happening on the 8th and 9th of June, Thursday and Friday, in Barcelona, near Plaza España, and that's a special place in the city, so where we can bring together all the people.
Okay, fantastic. And now in your intro, you mentioned that you have your own consulting company, apart from being on the CSCMP board, and also that you teach in one of the local business schools. So you've got a broad experience in this space. You've been in the supply chain space for, 3 or 4 years now, I want to say.
You can see that I have, lost a part of my hair already. So, I have been in the industry and the function for more than 30 years already. So I started in 93. So this is my 30th anniversary in the function. So I have, many different experiences in the industry. So I'm one of the, how do you say senior about that? How can you say that?
Experienced. You're experienced.
Okay, experienced.
That's a nice way to put it.
At all. Yeah, not junior. You got me. Yeah. That's a nice word. Yeah.
And so looking back over those 30 years and from your vast experience, tell me about the trends that you're seeing in the supply chain industry in the last. Let's not go back 30 years for this, but let's just say talk about the trends that you're seeing in the last 5 years and where you see things going.
Okay. Yeah, the last 5 years for supply chainers have been really amazing in terms of changes, and let's say that the major changes have been based on, 2 or 3 major global changes. One has been the COVID pandemic. So that has happened in the 2020, so that's 3 years ago. And that's changed dramatically the majority of supply chains all over the world. Because as you may see, or I want to give the audience this data in terms of numerics. So there are 2 big data that it's important to understand about how's the globe right now. So 44% of the production is today based in 5 countries in Asia. So between Japan, China, South Korea, Indonesia, and India, these 5 countries, all of them produce 44% of the whole production of the world. which is a lot, which is almost half of it. So that's located in Asia. That's one thing. The second thing is that 95%, more than 90% of the materials and products in the world, at some point in their life of the materials or products, are on a boat, on a ship, because there is the shipping industry, the maritime industry all over the world. So based on this Asia and where the goods are consumed, let's say that way, Tom. So at some point, you need to put that in a ship, in a boat, which is the cheapest transportation to any part of the world. It's much expensive a plane, much expensive a truck, which is much more reduced to the locality. But then let's see that the ships, and that's why there we have more than 50,000 cargos all over the world moving. If you see the maps of the world, at some point you can go to Google and see there's a lot of boats there, and sometimes there is some struggling in some of the ports anywhere in the world. And that happened several years ago when a ship crossed the Canal de Suez in Egypt. You remember that was a big ship that crossed the Canal de Suez, and then that stopped the global trade and say, what's going on here? A ship tucks there for some days, and then you stop the world because there was a line of boats there. So that's the second major change that happened these last 3 years. And the last one, but not least, is that we are, because of e-commerce and what happened, people were staying at home, and then there was a real increase of e-commerce because you can take your phone, and with your phone, you can buy many things through the internet. And that's not only Amazon, but all the marketplaces that you can go. And right now, I have to tell you another data which is important for supply chainers. So 20% of the consumption, the retail consumption is made through e-commerce. That's the current data. Before COVID, that was 40%, 1/4. Right now is 20. And the forecast is that in 3 years, we are going to reach 24, 25. So one of every $4, one of every €4, in 3 or 4 years will be spending. Instead of going to shops, people will be expecting at home to receive the materials. So that's a huge change also for the transportation industry, because instead of going to deliver to thousands of shops, you deliver to millions of households. That's a lot of change in the supply chain.
And that's a huge hit as well for sustainability, because obviously far, far more trips means far, far more emissions, right?
Yes, yeah, you are absolutely right on that. So that's one of the biggest challenges we are facing right now, sustainability. How do we make this sustainable for the future generations? How we make the planet that stays and we are not killing ourselves on the atmosphere? So we need to figure out, and that's always about KPIs and measuring. So many companies right now, they are measuring their emissions, which is good. So when you see a factory, you see a warehouse, you see a company, and they are measuring as a KPI for the management, top management, they are measuring the emissions. And one of the goals every year is reducing the emissions or going to what they call zero emissions. That's good on a company perspective. It's also good on an individual perspective. So how many emissions does my family, how many emissions do we put in the atmosphere? So try to reduce that. That's going to help us in the future. And then there is the back trend of people that says, okay, let's challenge that, because it's true that when they come to your home and they bring a van to your home and they deliver something, it's true that they deliver something and they are, let's say, increasing the emissions, but it's also true that you are not driving to the consumption, to the place, to the store. So then you are reducing your emissions because you are staying home and you are not driving. So obviously we need to compare that. It's because that's depending on how many times do they come home to deliver something. If they come to your home 10 times a week, it's different that you go to the supermarket once with your car. So then we need to compare again. But really, sustainability is a big challenge. That will be also one of the big topics in our conference in Barcelona, for sure.
Yeah. And apart from the sustainability impacts, the whole shift to e-commerce, what other impact is that having on supply chain?
So the other impact that we are facing is that supply chain right now is not about, so let's say, the older way in which teachers and people in business schools, universities teach supply chain. This was about making the execution of the supply chain excellent, meaning that when you have let's say, the production side, the materials and so, try to do all the processes in a way, synchronized way, that the execution was excellent and you give the best product with the best value, the best service at the lowest cost. That was the original idea of operations and supply chain. Right now, this changed a lot because it's not a matter to make sure that you have the excellent execution. You need to have something previous, which is the planning. And then the planning means that you cannot execute without planning. Why is that, Tom, and all the people listening to us? Because then right now it's very difficult. The demand and supply are so in turbulent times, are very difficult to forecast and to see what's going on and what's coming to be, that companies need to anticipate that and need to say, okay, which is my demand going to be next week, next month, next quarter? Because depending on that I need to plan all my capacities, not only production, but logistics, but people, technology, blah, 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 everything, to make sure that the execution will be excellent. So right now, one of the biggest challenges of companies is how do they plan? And then right now also, I'm recruiting, as I told you. So one of the current top jobs in the industry, in supply chain, is the planning. So planners, demand planners, supply planners, inventory planning, transport planners, anything related to planner sounds right now very sexy because all the companies need planners.
Right.
Right now. Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. And what about the triangle processes that you mentioned in the intro call?
Okay, the triangle processes. Yeah, so companies usually they are based or they manage the business in terms of understanding how a process is the way you create the business and the several steps you do to transform anything into a product that you may sell to your consumers, to your clients. That's how any company stands the processes. Then to make that happen, companies are based or are having tools and technology that support those processes. And then the third part of the triangle is the people, as I called them, the organization, the driver of the tools to make the process. It's not that you can have a car, you need, let's say, a highway, a car, and a driver. That's the triangle. So the triangle means that the business should make supply chain stable and efficient in all the three vertices of the triangle. So how is that doing? So that right now what's happening is that companies are basing their evolution and their maturity status development. They need to evolve not only in one of the triangle vertex, but in the three of them. So it's not about that you improve your processes. It's not about that you invest in technology. It's about that you do the three things all together, meaning that you need to invest in technology, make sure that you have the right processes, but also have the right talent and right people organization to make this happen together. That's the idea.
How easy is that?
Oh, that's really, really very complicated. So it's not. I'm not willing to say that this is complicated. What I would say this is complex. It's different than complicated. So complex means that you need to understand how the relation of the three axes are, the three vertices are, and make sure that you invest in the right moment in technology. I always said that it's not okay if you want me to drive fast. So you don't need to give me a Ferrari or an excellent car. You need to give me three things. Look at this. You need to give me, first of all, a circuit when I can put my Ferrari on fast speed. So I need the road with no people, a circuit that's safe, good. Then the Ferrari itself, because I don't have a Ferrari, so you need to give the Ferrari to me or to you, Tom, so we can drive it. And the third thing is that Miquel is not ready to drive. I can drive my car, which is a small car, but I cannot drive a Ferrari. So if you want me to drive a Ferrari at 300 kilometers per hour, you need to make sure that you train me for that Ferrari. So that's the three things. And usually, because of, let's say, false selling proposals that companies have been, listening to the last years, some companies believe that if you invest in technology, that's it. That company improve the processes and company improve the business. And that's not true. So companies today understand that it's not that you simply buy the Ferrari or buy the tool. No, you need to improve your processes and you need to invest in your people and your talent. That's the other part. And here is where I see, let's say, the power of an organization like the council, which makes you be able to understand what's going on in the development of, the brains and the talent of the people all over the globe. It's not about technology, it's about the people. This is still about the people.
Okay. And you mentioned that you're recruiting at the moment for planning people. So how hard or easy is it at the moment to recruit people in the supply chain industry? Because I got to think there's a lot of competition out there for talent.
Yeah, there is a real war for talent right now, a real competition. So right now, companies are struggling with two things. Though they are struggling to attract new professionals and also retain the current professionals they have, because other companies try to get them and move them to a different company. So that's what's going on. So what companies are doing right now in the past, or at least 30 years ago when I started my career, so you take decisions as a candidate based on, okay, this is an important company. I like the product. Let's say the salary is good. I think that the boss will be okay. So yeah, let's go for that company. Right now, the candidates are much more willing to have other things. So they are considering things like, for example, one thing that is on the table right now is how much time I will be working from home. Where can I, so if I want to live in wherever, so can I live wherever and then go to the office twice every week? And I know I don't want to commute every day because my life is important. And I don't want to spend 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening returning home. I don't want to do that. So people is asking that when you start interviewing candidates. They say, okay, Miquel, how many days at home? And you say, maybe 1 day, 2 days. Some companies say, no working at home. You need to come to the office every day. So that's something that the criteria of candidates to take or not take a job, to be interested or not, is depending on not only the money, but also the number of days at home, but also the values of the company. So for example, one question that some candidates ask us is, okay, what is this company doing in terms of supply chain sustainability? What are they doing? Are they truly thinking on doing things to improve global sustainability, or they are doing nothing? So tell me about initiatives that they are doing. So wow, that's impressive, because you say, wow, the candidate is really interested in that, and the decision they will take on the job will be based on the values of the companies, which is something that it's really creating this competition, because the companies that are able to attract good candidates or retain the ones that they have will be able to have better people in the future than they had in the past. So that's something that's changing, Tom.
Okay, well, given I'm on the lookout for a job myself at the moment, it's good to hear that there's a war for talent. So that's that's heartening.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, right.
In terms of supply chain understanding within organizations, I mean, supply chain is just one part of an organization typically. How well is it understood outside of the supply chain organization? Let's talk about the C-level, for example, suite. Do they know what's going on in supply chain?
They should, and sometimes some of them they do, and some of them they may not do. So what is my understanding of a general manager, a CEO of a company or C-level, is that they are usually able to understand sales impact, marketing impacts, finance impacts. They are usually these areas are really very well known amongst the C-level organization. Supply chain at some point, and operations, it's something that some of them may consider like the black box, something that say, okay, we know that we have like a supply chain, we have like a warehouse, I've never been there, I have a production site, never been there, because it's somebody, wow, production site, the warehouse is somebody, okay, I'm in the office, so going there, it's like the black box. So you truly rely on the people in operations and supply chain to make that happen. And you only call them or ask them when something is wrong. So I'm always saying that supply chain people, I've been a supply chain executive myself before becoming a consultant. And in the past, my boss only called me when something was wrong. When everything was doing very well and you were doing a nice job and everything was smooth and very good for the customers, nothing happened, nothing was saying. Only they call you when there is an urgency, when there is a problem, there is an issue, you are in trouble, then they call operations supply chain. So what's going on here? So my point right now is that the CEOs and general managers and C-level organization that better understands the supply chain fundamentals and the drivers of supply chain, and understand that even if you launch a new product, even if you decide to move to another country, to another geography, to launch a new line of products or material, whatever, you need to consider the supply chain impacts on that, because that will affect your business success. If you don't consider that and you don't have, let's say, a clear idea of how is that impacting the business, not only in economics, but in terms of service and in terms of cost to your customers, then you are more likely to have failures and pitfalls. So it's better that you understand that. So my recommendation to all of the C-level suite in any organization will be try to understand what's going on in supply chain, what's this supply chain about, and what are the real challenges that we have in supply chain as professionals.
Sure. And do you think that the last 3-4 years, the whole pandemic, do you think that brought home to boards and C-levels the importance of supply chain? And do you think as a consequence it has now become potentially a strategic differentiator for organizations?
Yes, I'm sure that happened the last 3 years, Tom. Really, many organizations right now understand much better the supply chain. That's why many organizations are upgrading the level of the talent that they have in supply chain. That's because they understood, and right now they understand the importance of the supply chain and operations to make them successful as a company. And this is what has been changing in the last year. So yes, I would say that this is a clear yes.
Okay. And what about things like teamwork and collaboration within organizations and supply chain? How's that going?
Yeah, so teamwork and the supply chain is really about making functions work together in a synchronized way. So it's not about working by your own, but you need to work together with finance, with sales, with human resources, with IT, with all the other functions. So teamwork for a supply chain professional is absolutely critical. And then how do you make teamwork happen? So first of all is communication. So open communication, active listening, and make sure that people, you understand what's going on and what your suppliers are saying to you, your customers are asking you, are demanding, your partners. So communication for supply chain professional is something that you need to be excellent in that. That's first thing. And then second thing, and related to that, is how do you collaborate with customers, with suppliers? How do you coordinate with them? And how do you make sure that this collaboration and coordination makes the supply chain excellent end-to-end? And this is why I would say that we have increased a lot the power of teamwork and collaboration and communication between all participants in the supply chain, because the organizations realize that this is exactly about that. So if you have an information and you don't share that information with any other of the functions involved, even if you know that, but that's a problem for the organization, because I know that, but maybe Tom is working on another department and I'm not giving Tom that information, then Tom will take decisions without knowing that this may affect the decision that he or she may take depending on that information. So you need to share, and this sharing and this visibility of the supply chain is really very important right now.
Okay. And apart from communications, are there other new skills that people in supply chain need to be equipping themselves with?
Okay, that's a good. So what I have been seeing in the market is that right now the market, when you are talking to a candidate and you are asking the company, saying, okay, the customer says you, okay, Miquel and team, this is the requirements we have from candidates. Usually they ask for hard skills and soft skills. The hard skills are usually the technical skills you need to do a job. If you need to be an engineer, you need to be an engineer. If you need to speak English or speak another language or work with an Excel spreadsheet, you need to know that. That's more technical side. But that's something that can eliminate you from the initial filter to become a candidate, but that's not what is going to give you the job. What's going to give you the job is soft skills. And soft skills right now, apart from what we have said, communication, this ability of teamwork, I see two major ones. One is the resilience, which is something that you need to cope with everything stressed in the world at these urgencies and have the ability of recover yourself from a difficult time. So this resilience for candidates, that's super important. And the second, and I think that this is also very important for candidates, is they call learnability, which is the ability to get new skills quickly. Why is that? Because technology is really going on a fast way that I cannot even myself imagine. I don't know about you, but imagining technology, if I have to guess which technology is going to be, let's say, mainstream in 5-7 years, I don't have the answer, Tom. I don't know, because this is going so fast that in technology, I only have the answer that me as Miquel Serracanta myself, I need to be able to cope with what's going on and learn fast. So being a fast learner, a fast skill learner, and being able to adapt to that, that's super important. And companies are looking for that. So for candidates that are able to cope with new technology and improving themselves in skills quick, that's what's something that is, let's say, very valuable in the market right now.
Yeah. I think one of the technologies that's going to really disrupt supply chain in the coming years is going to be AI. I mean, we're starting just to see the way it's being rolled out now. Since ChatGPT launched last November, we've seen a huge increase in its utility. And we've seen even things like in Microsoft are starting to roll out their generative AI products in their teams, in their office suite, in their dynamics, and that's going to have huge implications as well. So, and that's just the start. In terms, in the way I like to phrase this for people to give them a kind of an analogy is, we are in 2007 with respect to smartphones. The iPhone was announced in 2007. That's where we are right now, So,
Okay.
in terms of AI at least, and in terms of supply chain, there's so much data. Organizations have so much data, and that's what AI thrives on. It can look through enormous amounts of data and find trends that it would be really, really hard for you and I to see. So I think, yeah. And you mentioned the ability for people to learn, and I think this is going to be crucial, because recruits talent, the ability to learn, and to be able to work with AI is going to be hugely beneficial for people in the next 5 years and beyond. So we're going to see major changes there. I think it's going to be a fascinating space to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about things like networking?
That's something that I have in my mind every single day. So I have let's say one of my top priorities during the week really is, let's say, to meet new people and to learn from other people. So how do I do that, or how do I recommend my network to do that? Is you need to be able to share and be open to learn from others. And that way is you always. So this morning I have, before this call, I have interviewed someone that was connected by another person and say, okay, you need to talk to Miquel. And this morning we have a brief chat, 20 minutes on the video. And the first initial starting from his point was that, okay, we don't know each other, but between you and me, we have like 50 contacts, 50 common contacts that that through LinkedIn, with this social media platform, it's easy to understand how many people do you have in contact with another person. So the world is really small. So you are not far away of connecting to everybody. So everybody knew someone that, so if you investigate that, it's really fascinating. So networking abilities and the capabilities of being connected to others, and because what I know from myself, even after these 30 years of experience, is that I don't have all the answers. So why is my networking helping me in that? Is when some customers, some friends, some professionals say, Miquel, do you have this answer? Okay, I may don't know the answer at that moment, but I know who to ask. So knowing the person that you need to ask to get that answer, that's the power of networking. That's the real value of you as a connection. Not your only, let's say, brain and yourself. It's the capacity that you have to connect to others, because that multiplies per thousands your capabilities and your abilities. So I would, let's say, push. And that's why an organization like CSCMP, that I have been a member for the last 12 years, has been a real change in my professional capacities in supply chain, because this connection that I have all over the globe means that when I need someone, I just, let's say, make an email, some quick connection, and I have the answer, and I know who I can connect with. That's absolutely important, Tom.
Sure. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Where to from here for supply chains? I mean, we've talked about how much they've been disrupted in the last few years, and we've mentioned a bit about how AI is going to be massively disruptive as well. What else are you seeing that's coming down the line that's going to change supply chains?
So in the future, in the coming years, I don't know what's going to happen in technology, but I know that technology is going to be there. So things like, for example, as you said, AI, obviously, but also things like driverless vehicles, truck, more physical. Potential drones for this sustainability topic that you see a lot of bans. What about delivering with some drones? May happen. Yes, it may happen. I don't know how. Then people are starting to think, but then this is a bit weird, and you say, oh, wow, this cannot happen. But maybe I'm not saying impossible. I'm saying, how are they planning, or how is the society and everything in the world? How are they going to be able to connect at some point our brains with intelligence? So because we cannot live without this right now, you go with this. Are you going to be able to be connected at some point with a computer? Is that really something that it's weird? No. We cannot be like a cyborg. That's not possible. That's too far away. It's like a red line. Or is this something that will be regulated and will happen in the future? That may be many years ago, but will my grandkids have that or not. So will this happen? So technology is something that we need to be ready that it will, as you said, '07 initial iPhones, initial, let's say, smartphones, and right now you cannot live with that. It's impossible. You need that tool. Everybody needs that tool. So be ready to what's going on. And then I want to, let's say, close this part of the future saying that you need to be able, seeing that the speed of change in the outside is a lot. So Jack Welch said that in the past, former CEO of General Electric. He said that if the rate of change in the outside exceed the rate of change in the inside, meaning inside, you as a professional or you as a company, then you will be in trouble in the future. So you need to make sure that anything happening in the outside, technology, blah, 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 what's going on in the world, you need to be at speed on that, because if not, it's like the Darwin evolution theory. You will be out of the market soon. So be ready for this speeding technology and changes, and make sure that you have good connections and you have your own ability to continuous learning. So it's that what will be my recommendation on this, Tom.
Cool, Miquel. We're coming towards the end of the podcast now. Is there any question that I haven't asked, Miquel, that you think I should have, or any topic we've not talked about that you think it's important for people to be aware of?
No, I have. I think that I have touched whenever we have a good vision of the supply chain and where we are, Tom. So I wasn't expecting any other different question from you, but it has been a nice conversation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if people would like to know more about yourself, Miquel, or about any of the topics we discussed in the podcast today, where would you have me direct them?
Yeah, I can give you my details, and afterward to this podcast, you can send to them. No problem. Sure.
Great. I'll put those links in the show notes, and that way everyone will have access to them. Great. Super, Miquel. That's been fascinating. Thanks a million for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you very much, Tom, for the opportunity. Thank you.